Hello everybody and welcome to my top 15 favorite video games of all time. Obviously this list is going to be pretty subjective to my opinions and might be some nostalgia based, but that's the whole point of it. Now this video has been working for a long time, I think 4 or 5 years now. It's been sitting in a text document on my computer forever and I keep changing it and I'm like, well, what if my opinion changes with this game or I don't like it anymore or a new game comes out or a game I haven't played changes. So I kept delaying it. Then I realized pretty recently, like, if I keep doing that, I'm never going to get this video out. And also, that's going to happen for the rest of my life. There's never not going to be another game you haven't played. Games are always getting released, so might as well release it now, better than never. Also, I was still worried about this video becoming out of date, but that's kind of the point of the video. I mean, you want it to be out of date because you could see what your opinion was at that time, see if it's changed, see if the game still hold up. Now, this is going to be a pretty weird list, too, by the way. Obviously, it's my opinion, but I'm doing some weird things on it. I'm having kind of semi-ties because, like, I have like games that I think are on the same level from the same franchise because I want a one game per franchise rule, but I'll have some multiple games on the same spot. But I'll usually say which one I prefer and why I'm having both of them in the same spot. Usually because they're so similar or the same style. But yeah, that's a weird quirk about this list, but I had to do it like that because I didn't want to miss out any games. Anyway, without further ado, here's my list of the top 15 games of all time. So starting out at number 15 is Cuphead. This is the newest game on the list, but it's not the most recent game I have played for the first time on this list. Now, even though this game barely made the cut and is at number 15, it is still a masterpiece in my eyes. I think most of the games on this list are relatively a 10 out of 10 for me, at least. The only problem with Cuphead is that the game's way too short, but it's not really its fault, because, I mean, it's an indie game. Everything is hand-drawn, so you kind of give them props for it. And to make up for it, they made the game really hard, which I don't mind. I kind of like it being like that. The game has probably one of the best graphics of any game ever. It's really fun combat, keeps good replayability, and I played it probably 50 to 60 hours, even though the game's only like 5 hours long. I've gotten all the achievements basically. Expert mode was a blast, even though it was annoying as hell. I mean, I've got some problems with like some battles, like King Dice is honestly kind of badly designed. And if this game was much longer, it'd be a little higher up on the list, but as is, there's just not enough in the game to put it higher on the list, even though there's nothing really wrong with the game. There's just not enough content to put higher. But yeah, Cuphead, great game. Play it now if you love old school animation or just hard games. This is the perfect choice. Alright, number 14, we have Red Dead Redemption 1. So I haven't played the sequel yet, and a lot of people are probably going to get mad at me for that, but whatever. I'll eventually get to it. Right now, it's a shit show to run that game on PC, but whatever. But I don't really know if the original is better, but it's the one I have played and beaten and 100% in multiple times, and I like it quite a lot. What makes this game really good, and even better than some GTA games, is just the feel. Rockstar always nails the feel, but this game is the perfect example of that. It feels like an old school Western movie, but it's actually really good instead of boring as hell. And just the environment and the music and just riding horses just feels so good in this game. The map could be a little bigger and have more stuff in it, but it's not too bad for a 2010 game, but it's starting to show its age a little bit. The gameplay is still fun, but some other games have improved on what it does. I'm assuming Red Dead 2 is quite a bit better, but Red Dead 1 is always in my heart. Undead Nightmare is a great DLC that adds a lot more fun to the game. It's a pretty good zombie game, too. Story is also quite amazing. John Marston's a great character in it. Sad ending, I'm not going to spoil it, even though the game's 10 years old because I'm not a dick. But the only real downsides to this game, what I'd say, is the fact you can't swim. I don't know why. And it's a console exclusive, which really annoys me, but whatever. Maybe it'll get ported to the PC. I highly doubt it. Number 13, GTA 5. Now this one was a hard one to rank because I wasn't sure if I really preferred it over Red Dead, and also if I'm going to do a GTA game, what is my favorite GTA game, and do I want to do ties or shit like that. But after playing GTA pretty recently, the only GTA game I haven't really played is Vice City. 1 and 2 suck, 3 is horrible, sorry it's dated. Vice City I think is pretty good, but I haven't really played it enough to say. San Andreas is a great game, which is almost here, but I think 5 just takes the cake. 4 was the game I grew up on, but honestly, it's not that great anymore. I just finished playing it and all the DLCs. It's pretty dated now. I still enjoy the game. It still has a lot of nostalgia, but it's not the masterpiece everyone says it is. Driving sucks. GTA 5, I know it gets a lot of hate nowadays, but that's mainly because obviously the popular game's going to get hate. The game holds up pretty well, even though it's not that old. I don't know why it actually gets holding up. GT 5 is just the best GTA game. It's got all the good shit from San Andreas with the fun mechanics and got rid of the stupid shit of GTA 4. Great graphics, just, it looks good. Like GTA 4 might have I like Liberty City better, but the graphics just make Los Santos look amazing. The story is so fun to play with. All the heist missions are just honestly great. Having 3 characters is so much fun. The city of Los Santos is one of the best designed cities in any game ever. It's always a blast to go through it. And this game, I could have put higher for counting playtime, but I don't want to do that because there's a lot of stuff I don't like about this game. Like, the online is the biggest hit or miss thing ever. I've spent countless hundreds of hours of my life playing it, and when it's good, it's really fun, you know, playing with your friends and all that, buying all these cool, ridiculous vehicles like the Batmobile. But it's so microtransaction full, and people are always dicks in the game. But for what it's worth, it's pretty fun, and it could be a masterpiece, but they kind of wasted the online. Hopefully GTA 6 is better. I heard Red Dead 2 was a joke, though, with the online, so can't be worse than that. And some other reasons why I prefer this one over, like, 4 and San Andreas is that, well, San Andreas is kind of dated now with some of the stuff, although it has a lot of features, but 5 has most of the features in the game. And what makes 4 not that good, and like everyone says, is 4 is all about realism, and realism doesn't make a good game a lot of times. I do miss some of that stuff, but it's really not that important. What's important is the actual structure of the game, the missions, and the driving and the shooting. The shooting isn't that bad in 4, but it's improved definitely in 5. The driving is a joke in 4, and 5 driving is so fun. And just the overall missions, every GTA 4 mission is go here, kill these guys. It's every mission. And GTA 5 takes it up to another level, and the missions are much more fun. Number 12, Dark Souls. This is not the newest game on the list, but it's the most recent game that I've played for the first time. I didn't get this game until Christmas this year, so I've only been playing this game like 5 months, and it's already up here, so that tells you it's pretty good. I haven't played Dark Souls 3 yet, so I don't know if that one's better or any of the other games. I've only played Dark Souls 2, which is obviously a lot worse, but Bloodborne might be better, 3 might be better, I don't know. But as is, 1 is a really good game. Hard, but good. Now, Dark Souls 1 is the weirdest history for me. When I first played it, I don't know, it was pretty cool. I was like, this ain't too bad. And then I started to get really frustrated at the game. But for some reason, I just kept wanting to play it, even though I didn't think I liked it at all. And then slowly but surely, I kept quitting the game because I was like mad at it. I'm just like, this game sucks. I used to think, oh, this game's horrible. It's like a 6 out of 10. I slowly trudged through it because for some reason, something was pushing me through the game. And once I beat it, I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to play that again. But I ended up doing it anyway, and my second playthrough is when I really started to like this game, and I've never had that happen with a game. Except Half-Life 1, actually. That's the only game I liked way more on the second time. I don't know why, though. But this game, the first playthrough, I hated it. Now I've loved it. Because once you get good at the game, you really experience how fun it is to play, and it's not so frustrating, but it's still hard where it gets under your skin sometimes. It's probably got some of the best level design of any game ever. The way it's interconnected is so well designed. Just the creepy atmosphere and just the bosses are just so breathtaking sometimes. You get adrenaline rush. But even though the first run is never your favorite, it's always the most nostalgic, just wondering, wow, I used to suck at this part and now it's easy as crap. At number 11, we have the classic Mario Kart Double Dash. Now this is technically the first game I played on this list. If you do it in the order I played it in, I played this game for the first time when I was a kid, and I think it was my first GameCube game. I liked it a lot back then, and I still love it a lot, even though I technically like it more now, but for different reasons. Back then, I think I liked the Wii version more, but honestly, the Double Dash is still my favorite. It just has such a good movement system. Something about the way the karts feel is just so fun. Even though a game like 8 should be a lot better because the graphics and the maps and the characters, it's just something about Double Dash just feels so good to me, and I cannot explain it. But Mario Kart's always a great game. It's just so energetic. Getting that better time in time trials is always so fun. Getting all the maps and beating all the trials against the computers is just breathtaking. It's a perfect party game, too. Nothing really bad to say about Mario Kart Double Dash. GameCube has so many great games, and this is probably the top one up there. I don't know who hell hasn't played this game, but go ahead and play it. Number 10 is the first kind of dual spot on this list. It is The Walking Dead 1 and 2 by Telltale. Now, Telltale games are always one of my favorites. Not really for the gameplay, but the gameplay is pretty good. It's a classic point-and-click game, but modernized a little bit, and I love the art styles of the game. But the best ones for me is Walking Dead 1 and 2. They pretty much go hand in hand. 1 has the huge nostalgia value, but 2's a little cleaner to play. I think 1 might have the better story. I mean, I haven't played them in a while. It's been like maybe 2 years. I can't remember. Season 3 is a joke, and Season 4 was on the right track, but it doesn't really hold up quite as well, except for the graphics, which are obviously better. But that is a little disappointing of a game. Wolf Among Us could also be considered here, but I didn't want to put 3 games in this spot because that'd be too much. But honestly, I think Wolf Among Us is basically on the same level here. Yes, The Walking Dead, probably the best story of any game I've ever played to this day. I mean, people always say, what makes you want to play a game? You know, does the story matter in games, shit like that. This is the game that makes stories matter. I mean, you can't get much better than this. It's heart-wrenching. The graphics have so much charm to them. It's just a great game. You need to play. I'm not going to spoil anything. Just play the damn game. It's not that expensive, and it's great. And they work perfectly together. Honestly, you could just stop after the second game, and the story's great. Although Telltale went bankrupt because they sucked, apparently. I guess they're skybound now, but you know what I mean. I mean, if I rank this game for story, it technically be number 1. This is a very hard game to rank, honestly, because gameplay alone, it's not that great of a game, and plus, it's not too high in replay value, and it's not too long either. So I'm like, well, where do I put it? Because like, it really impacted me. I was obsessed with it, but it's not really a favorite game. So I feel like this is kind of fair to put it here. A little lower, but I still enjoy this game quite a lot.
Little girl's tough as nails.
Are you all right?
I'm still not bitten.
Continuing the top 10, number 9 is Bioshock. Now this is kind of a 3-way tie, but not really. Bioshock Infinite is the one I prefer the most because the combat is just so fun in the game. It's well crafted. I love the graphic style of it. Bioshock 1 and 2 are right behind it, and I could technically put them up here as well. Bioshock 1 is one of the greatest games of all time, too, with great storytelling and a huge twist at the end, which I'm not going to spoil for you. And the city is so well designed. Bioshock 2 is a little bit of a rehash, but the game's still good, and it's the one I started with. And the combat is actually a little bit better than the first game, although the story is not quite as good. Oh, it's still amazing. Now, I actually started out with 2 as a kid, but I was too scared to play it because like, the splicers would scare me, even though it's not a scary game at all. But it gave me the love for pseudo-horror games. Games that are creepy, but they're not really horror games. Love that type of game. What's cool about Bioshock is like the environments are just a masterpiece. Like, Rapture is one of the coolest cities ever, and then they did it again with Columbia. It's just like, I don't know how Ken Levine comes up with this stuff. And the story is basically Walking Dead, where it's just so mesmerizing. You're just always thinking about it and reading about it. And it's all intertwined so well. But I guess Bioshock is kind of over now. And it goes without saying, but the reason this is higher than a game like Walking Dead is because they both have great stories, but this game has much better gameplay and environments to it. Like, if you like Walking Dead, I highly recommend Bioshock. It's basically a great continuation, story-wise and player-wise. The combat is also really creative. It's not just your generic first-person shooter. Like, it's very movement-based, I would kind of say. And you got a lot of traps and different trinkets you could use. And the plasmids are so fun. It's not very hard, but it's a great game. Number 8 is the biggest clusterfuck on this list. It's technically like 4 or 5 games, but they're all so similar that doesn't really matter. Call of Duty, another game that was always one of my favorites as a kid, and still is, although I'm a lot better at it now, which makes me enjoy it a lot more, to be honest. Now, my favorite Call of Duty games, I was going to say, are the middle era, when it was Call of Duty World at War, MW3, Black Ops 1, and Black Ops 3. Black Ops 2 and COD 4 were never too big for me. I didn't really care about them that much. And MW2, I honestly don't think is good at all. But yeah, World at War was always a great game to play with zombies, and campaign was all good. Everything about World at War was good. MW3 was like my multiplayer game. I loved it so much for multiplayer, and Special Ops was so fun for me. Black Ops 1 was probably easily my favorite campaign. I used to play local multiplayer a lot, although competitive multiplayer is not that fun in Black Ops 1 compared to the local. And Black Ops 3 is technically my most played COD game, mainly because it was the first COD I had on PC. That was actually like a modern COD, so there was a huge player base on it. And I had a lot of fun with multiplayer in this game. It's got a lot of issues, but it's just so fun unlocking all the stuff and the skins, getting dark matter. Oh, it's so fun. And the zombie mode of Zombie Chronicles gives you content for days. Like, there's just so much to say about Call of Duty. What's so good about them is like the multiplayer alone is like a whole game, but you get your zombies mode too, which is also you can spend hundreds of hours on along with the multiplayer, and you always have a great campaign. But Call of Duty is not very good anymore. And if I was to make a perfect Call of Duty, I'd probably have like the feel of World at War in a World War II game. Probably the combat from Modern Warfare 3 in multiplayer. The campaign would definitely be Black Ops 1 styled, and the customization of Black Ops 3. But yeah, sorry this is a clusterfuck right here, but if I had to pick my favorite Call of Duty game overall, it's probably World at War, because it's just a perfect package. Well, it is a little dated, because it has no issues. Like Modern Warfare 3, the campaign's not the best. Spec Ops could have been better. The survival is still fun, though. Black Ops 1, the multiplayer isn't that great, and the zombies has some issues. Black Ops 3 has the most issues, but it's my most played one. But yeah, if you haven't played Call of Duty games, give them a shot. They're the best FPS out there for a reason. I mean, too bad Call of Duties nowadays suck. They should just end the franchise. We've had plenty of good games. Just kill it off. Stop this stupid shit. Number 7, along with Call of Duty, this is one of my favorite games at a certain point, but this was actually like my big favorite game for quite a while actually, and it is Minecraft. Now, I found Minecraft a long time ago, pretty beta era, so I guess I could say I'm an OG player, and I loved it from the day I bought it after watching Syndicate play it. I've had so many memories with Minecraft, and I probably played it more than any other game hours-wise, but that doesn't really entail a great game. It just means I've played it a lot. It's an easy game to replay. But that's not knocking it. It's still a great game. Any game that could get hours out of is a good game in my eyes. Now, the reason Minecraft has dropped a little bit and it's more in the middle here is because I think with all my hours played, I'm getting a little sick of the game. I could still get addicted to it sometimes, but no matter how much I like the game now or get addicted to it, it just never quite has that feel it used to have. And I don't know if it was just nostalgia or just something different about Minecraft, but I can't get the same feel I used to get. I used to love this game, and now it's a fun game to play, but it's a different kind of game. It just doesn't have the magic anymore. I don't know, I think a lot of people had that, but to me it's just a little sucky. I don't have any other games like that where I can't really like it as much as I used to. Although it's still an amazing game, super creative, the fun, and build anything. I mean, you could spend hundreds of hours in this game and not be bored. It's also great with multiplayer if you're playing with the right people. I mean, who hasn't played Minecraft? That's the best-selling game of all time. But it has fallen down a few pegs in my eyes. So Left 4 Dead 2, a nostalgic game and a great game. You could also put Left 4 Dead 1 up here. I mean, Left 4 Dead 2 technically is better. It's basically the same fucking game, by the way. And Left 4 Dead 2 on PC has all the Left 4 Dead 1 maps. So there's literally no reason to play Left 4 Dead 1 anymore. But yeah, whatever. So it's technically a tie, but Left 4 Dead 2 is better. Left 4 Dead is a game I've always loved. I still love it. I've gotten so many hours just messing around with it, even though there's not much in the game. There's only like, what, 5 maps in Left 4 Dead 2. But I played it so much. Playing with friends is honestly a blast. Every time you play the game with the great director and the items, it's just a different experience. There's so many funny moments of how this game in versus mode. You can play it all day. And then on PC with the mods, it just gets ridiculous how many fun stuff you could do. There's so many great custom maps out there, and like people are just so creative with making this stuff and breathing more life into this game. Even when it came out 2009, 11 years ago, they're still making maps for that, and they're still great. I just wish there was a Left 4 Dead 3 because I started to get a little sick of the game, but I have to put it up here at top 5. It's still an amazing game, my favorite Valve game too, and I love zombie games, by the way. But I think it's the only zombie game on the list, ironically. But any game that's a great action zombie game and that's good with friends is a A+ in my book. Now, everyone knows Valve makes great action games and just fun games to play, but Valve is kind of like Rockstar to me. They put so much detail in their games and the environment. This is just one game. I always love playing Left 4 Dead in a slow-paced way, and you just get the feel of environment. It just feels so gritty and just such a great game, the way it feels. Like, honestly, I'd recommend going slow-paced to pretty much all the maps and making your own story up, and it's just so much fun to play. It just feels so real and visceral, and the game stops feeling like an action game, more like a horror game when you do it like that. Number 5 is a game very similar to Minecraft, Terraria. Now, this one was a little debatable, like, is it better than Minecraft? Technically, I have more hours of Minecraft, and I have more fond memories of Minecraft, but Terraria, even though I've played it, like 650 hours, I could still go back into Terraria and have that same energy and youth I did when I first played it. The charm hasn't worn off, even though I think Minecraft might be a little better if it was in its peak position. If we took my favorite Minecraft ever memories, it'd probably be better than my Terraria memories. But honestly, Terraria holds up better in my eyes. Every time I play it, it's still fun. It's probably one of the most addictive games I've ever played too. Like, you cannot put the game down, and the game is so long. It's so much content for such a cheap game. Like, it takes like hundreds of hours just to beat one file. Then you do it again. One thing about this game that's way better than Minecraft though is the mining. It's so good, and the combat is just so fun. There's so many enemies, and The building is pretty cool. I'm not very good at it, but there's so many ideas and designs you could do. Minecraft's a little better in my eyes for building because of 3D, but Terraria is a great game. So much collectibles, so much fun to do, and you could spend hundreds of hours on it. So what more can I say? I mean, it's only like $10, so Journey's End's coming out too, so I can't wait to play that. And also, Terraria is actually my most played Steam game, so that obviously gives it a few pegs up on the scale. I mean, if you're #1 most played Steam game, and that's my main platform nowadays, that's a good sign. #4, we're getting some good games up here. We got Punch-Out. Technically, this is another tie, but I don't know. Maybe I'd say the Wii version's better. But my 2 tie would be here is the Mike Tyson's Punch-Out from 1987 and the Wii version, which is a perfect sequel. Ignore all the other ones. They don't even feel like sequels. Now, Punch-Out is the oldest game on this list by a landslide. I think it's the only game from the 80s. Well, actually, I know it's the only game from the 80s. But I believe it's the only game that's from before the 2000s, because I don't think I have any 90s games on this list. Yeah, I'm a 2000s kid, no shit. Now, Punch-Out holds up surprisingly well. The combat is so well paced and fun to play. It's just hard enough to piss you off but keep you going. And I've played the hell out of this game. It's just so fun. Like, Tyson's not even that hard to me anymore. I could beat him like first try every try now, because it was just so fun fighting him. And the Wii version takes it to a whole nother level and just makes the graphics so fun to look at, and fighting the enemies is just, every punch just feels good. To me, they're basically the same game, just with a better, fresh coat of paint and looks a little nicer, but they play very similarly. I have a lot of nostalgia with the, not really nostalgia, but I have a lot of love for the original one, 'cause that's why I started out, and it made me love the game. But the Wii version is probably the cream of the crop here, and they really need to make another one. Honestly, this game needs to be played by more people. It's an underrated gem, the Wii version. Everyone knows about the original, but this version is so good. It's actually probably the hardest game I've ever beat. I think it's harder than Cuphead. I think it's harder than Dark Souls. I don't know any other hard games I've beaten off the top of my head, but this is probably one of the hardest games to beat, in my opinion. But it's not frustratingly bad, though, because it's so well designed. #3, now we're getting to the big boys. This one's going to have to go to Resident Evil 4, with a slight honorable mention to Resident Evil 2. And Resident Evil 4 was a game that I've always heard about my whole life, but I never really played it until I think 2017, or yeah, I think it was 2017 spring break, and boy was I shocked how good it was. There's just something about the gameplay that's so simple, but it just works. It's so fun. I've replayed this game like a billion times. It's just so fun to play. The story is just this perfect amount of cheese that works, and it's like the perfect style of writing and just the feel of this game. I love games that have good environments and feel and great level design. This is one of them. Like, if you just soak in the atmosphere, it's got that creepiness on it, and everything's got that dusty look, and not many games are based off Spain, so it just feels very original and creative. And Leon's just a amazing character. He's just so fun to play as, with his stupid ass puns. And the game is so American, even though it's like a Japanese game. Resident Evil 2, I say, is also a great game. The remake is what I'm talking about. That one's more of a horror game. The reason that one isn't better than Resident Evil 4 in my eyes is because it's so short. And I've played that game like 8 times, and it gets a little repetitive, while Resident Evil 4 doesn't really get repetitive after a while. But if Resident Evil 2 was a lot longer, it could have been up here, but it's still an honorable mention in my eyes. But Mr. X is one of the best designed enemies of any game. But yeah, Resident Evil 4, one of my favorite shooters. Actually, it is my favorite shooter if you really consider it. Yeah, it's a shooter, but it's not a first-person shooter. Also, another reason why I put Resident Evil 4 over Resident Evil 2 Remake is because it's just such a longer game, as I was saying. Resident Evil 4, the length of it just really gives it a big bonus over 2. Also, if you haven't played this game, what the hell are you doing? This game reinvented the shooting genre, action, all that stuff. Everyone rips this game off the over-the-shoulder angle. Top 2, I wonder what it's gonna be. Well, we're going back to the GameCube again, one of my first ever games I played. Well, not the first one, but one of my early games. Super Smash Brothers Me! That's nostalgic for me. Now, this is easily the best Smash game. I think everyone could agree on that. Even though it has a smaller roster and plenty of bugs, it's just so well paced. It's on the GameCube. I mean, everything on the GameCube is good. That controller was so ahead of its time. Like, even the DualShocks back then weren't even that good. The Duke controller was a piece of shit. I don't know why people bought PS2s. The GameCube is just the best console. But Melee is easily my favorite fighting game. I'm not even that big of a fan of fighting games, but Smash Melee is just so fun. The way it blends combat with the movement, it's like a platformer and a fighting game at the same time. It's got some really fun single player modes, like Smash the Target, and just campaign modes. I don't know what they're called off the top of my head, but those are always fun to play. This is one of the first games I ever tried to get competitive at because it was just so fun. I wanted to get better at it. It's a game that makes you just want to keep getting better, unlike other fighting games where I just play it for fun. I don't really care about getting good because it's just not that interesting. Also, it's just so cool to me that you could play as all these different Nintendo characters and non-Nintendo characters now in the same game. It's just so cool to see them all fighting each other with these ridiculous items and Pokeballs and all these wacky-ass maps. It's just such a ridiculous game that you never think would exist. Like, how'd they get the rights for all this stuff? But it just exists. And Melee's just so fast-paced too, and it's great for casual and it's great for competitive. And some of the later Smash games are a little disappointing. Brawl was actually my favorite when I was younger because it was the new game, the hot one, but it's not that great anymore. I would just play as Meta Knight and spam. But yeah, Melee, great game, easily the best GameCube game in my opinion, best fighting game too. But it's not quite my favorite game, and we're about to see what that is. Before that though, honorable mention. Now, I have to give a big shout out to one of my favorite games of all time, like 10 years ago. Well, not 10 years ago, like 5 years ago. Saints Row the Third. This used to be one of my favorite games from like 2011 to like 2014-15. It was easily my number one. I would always say it's my favorite game, and it was just so fun for me and my friend to play. We'd play it every day, all night, doing ridiculous shit. Like, the customization was so fun to us. The story was just so wacky and ridiculous. We thought it was so fun just to goof around this game and just do stupid shit. Because the game gives you a lot of freedom, and it's still fun to play. But it doesn't quite have that magic. It's kind of like Minecraft for me, where I don't didn't hate the game. It's just when I go back to it, I'm just like, what was so fun about this? Oh, this game is a bigger issue with that than Minecraft. I really don't understand what was so interesting to us back then. To me, GTA 5 kind of makes this game a little pointless. But yeah, I wish I could get that nostalgia back, but this is still a great game, but it's not quite number one. It was for a while. Some other ones, which were my favorite games for like, I don't know, like a month or two, but they could have been on this list. If this list was made 5 years ago, this would have been on the list. Mortal Kombat 9 is my second favorite fighting game next to Melee. Always loved Mortal Kombat 9. Never really liked X though. Another game would be Far Cry 3, which is also a great game. Probably one of my favorite stealth games. And they should really make a game like Far Cry 3 again, because 4 is just not that good, and 5 is also not that great. Now, here's the games that are actually honorable mentions. I mean, they actually missed the cut, not just games I used to like. Dead Island is one of those games. I have quite a bit of hours on it, and I think it's a very underrated game. I think more people should play it. I don't know why it's not that liked, but I've always liked the game. Only reason I put it lower is because Cuphead's obviously a better made game. Even though I have more hours in Dead Island, I felt it was more fair to put Cuphead because it's a better game. Although it was a pretty close battle there. Cry of Fear is also a very underrated game and probably one of the best horror games of all time, despite being a indie game that is free. So there's no excuse not to play this game. Now, this is a very hard list to make for me. It was in development for years. I had this text document sitting on my computer, but I've always known what my number one is. Every single ranking was super hard to rank, but number one was just never hard for me to rank. Even back when I said Saints Row the Third was my favorite game, this was actually my favorite game. I just thought Saints Row the Third was my favorite for the time. I just wasn't playing this game at that point in my life, but it was always my favorite. It's one of the most nostalgic games for me, one of the first games I played as a kid. I still love it now, and I love all the games in this franchise. Can you guess what it is? It's fucking Pokemon FireRed. I always want to do a Let's Play this game because it was my favorite game. Pokemon is easy, my favorite franchise. Nothing even comes close to it. And FireRed is my most nostalgic Pokemon game, and still my favorite to this day. I've always had some debate about what my favorite Pokemon game is. And even on this list, I'm like, yeah, should I have like honorable mentions on this list or a tie here? Like Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire is probably one of the best made games. Platinum's a great game for the story and all that. Black 2 is a great game for the pacing and all that. But even though some of those games might technically be better, and there's Emerald's even a good game too, but I've never actually played Emerald. I own almost all of them, but I don't own Emerald actually. But FireRed, LeafGreen, there's just something about the game because Kanto is easily the best region. I love all the Pokemon there. I don't care if some of them are lazily designed. Something about the sprites in this game, I just love them, and I don't even know if it's nostalgia or not. I just think the FireRed LeafGreen sprites look so good. The music is amazing. Just GBA just looks so good and feels good. I could play this game so many times and not get sick of it. There's always another team to do or something, or another moveset to learn or some shit like that. Like, I've literally played this game like 2 times in a row, and it's not like that type of game. This is a long game, and it's not really a type of game you would play twice in a row. But I've done that before. I think I played it 3 times in a row once. It's probably my most played game if you count times played it. I've probably played it like 12 times over. Only game that comes even close to that is probably like Resident Evil 4, but that's a shorter game. That's like 12 hours long if your first playthrough. This Pokemon games are always long to play. I've always loved Pokemon. I'm not really sure why though, because I've never been a huge fan of RPGs. They're always too hard for me to get into. But Pokemon was just easy enough to get into, and just love all the animals. I'm always an animal guy, and just collecting all these critters. And every time you play, doing a new team and making their move set, it was just so fun to me. And I just love the combat. Just everything about Pokemon I love. And FireRed is just always a special place in my heart. And I don't think any game's ever going to take the spot from #1. I mean, Gen 4 did fix the special split. There's also some Pokemon that don't evolve yet. Gen 5 is a lot more faster paced. There's plenty of improvements in other games, but Fire LeafGreen is still my favorite Pokemon game. Purely for nostalgia, to be honest, but there's just something about it. If it was just nostalgia, why is it still my favorite? I just still love playing it. There's just something about it. Anyway, if you haven't played this game yet, I don't know who the hell you are. I mean, how have you not even played a Pokemon game yet? Just play it. I mean, it's the best game ever made. Come on. So anyway, that was my list for the top 15 best games of all time, in my opinion. It was a weird list with some weird ties and shit. It's probably subject to change, but that's the whole point why I made this list. If you disagree, I don't really care because it's my opinion, but you could always post your opinions in the comments. I'll probably read them. And this is a long time in the making, so be sure to leave a like on it. I'll get some views up in there. Took a lot of effort on this video. I'm out of breath from this commentary. I put a sock over the mic as a freaking pop filter because this mic sucks. But thanks for watching, and see you in another video.